We're going to get started. Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7:30 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, October 18th, 2016, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board, on Thursday, October 13th, 2016, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Dana, can we have a roll call, please?
Mark Friedman.
Here.
Brendan Galligan. Robert Garrison.
Here.
Chris Langhart.
Here.
Ginny Lights.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg.
Here.
Peggy Oster.
Here.
Charles Ostroff.
Here.
Amy Root.
Here. Peggy, can you lead us in a flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm going to go to the podium for our first announcement, and probably our best announcement.
I think so.
So tonight, we are going to recognize 5 Westfield High School seniors who were named National Merit Semifinalists for 2017. This designation is a result of a competition by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation, a nonprofit organization. The National Merit Scholarship Program used the preliminary SAT test to screen more than 1.5 million juniors. Approximately 1.1% qualify as National Merit semifinalists. They are the highest scoring entrants and are eligible to apply for National Merit Scholarships. The program is in its 62nd year of honoring students who show exceptional academic ability and potential for success in rigorous college studies. As you can imagine, these 5 students are very high achieving individuals, and it's our honor to have them here tonight. So as I call your name, if you could come up, I'm going to give a little spiel about you, and then once you're done and the next person comes, we'll just have all of you up so we can take a picture at the end, okay? Su Min Chung. Hi. Congratulations. Absolutely. Su Min has been described by her counselors as a young woman of lofty goals and intellect. For the past 3 summers, Su Min has actively pursued college-based scientific research programs that have fed her interest in molecular biology and biomedical engineering. While at these summer programs, she detected a visible gender imbalance within the STEM fields, so she came back to Westfield High School and founded WISE, Women in Science and Engineering, which has helped attract some of her peers to the STEM fields. Music is another of Su Min's great passions. She's been playing the violin since childhood and has achieved notable accomplishments. She's a member of the New York Youth Symphony, and she is currently the concertmaster for the Westfield High School Chamber Orchestra. She's performed at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center as a soloist and in an ensemble in the winner's concert at the Vivo International Music Competition and National Young Artist Chamber Music and Ensemble Competition. Su Min earned perfect scores in mathematics, English, and reading on the ACT, which is widely used for college admission and placement criteria, and she has been inducted into the National Honor Society. Congratulations. Olivia Hamilton. Olivia has demonstrated high academic achievement in her time at Westfield High School, appearing on the Distinguished Honor Roll each marking period and enrolled in advanced classes in math and the sciences. She also excels in writing and won the department's English award while she was in grade 10. She continued honing her writing talent as an opinion editor for the school's paper, High Eye. Her grasp of the French language has placed her in high rankings in both the state and the country in the national French exam rankings. She also was accepted in the Merck Science Day, participating in physics problem solving. Olivia is equally accomplished outside of the classroom. She's been a role model for younger students in her community, and she's most proud of being the founder and president of Solving the Inequality, Empowering Girls in Math, which focuses on encouraging younger girls to study higher level math. Her goal is to make young women feel confident in the subject. Furthermore, she's a member of the Foreign Language Awareness Group, or FLAG, where she assists in introducing younger students to foreign languages. Olivia's accomplishments were recognized through her induction to the National Honor Society. Congratulations, Olivia. Michael Hay. So you may recall that Michael has been in the news recently. He was selected as one of only 2 high school musicians in New Jersey and one of the top 125 in the nation who will play in the U.S. Army All-American Bowl Marching Band in January. Michael plays the clarinet in the school's symphonic band and also has been chosen to perform in the New Jersey All-State Symphonic Band and the Central Jersey Music Education Association's Regional Wind Ensemble and Symphonic Band. Michael leads the award-winning Blue Devils Marching Band as the drum major. He's been on the Distinguished Honor Roll each marking period while receiving straight A's during his first 3 years at Westfield. He was selected to the National Honor Society and elected as an officer. Michael received first honorable mention in the Moody's Mega Math Challenge and helped the Westfield High School math team receive first place at the 2016 National Math Convention. At the convention held in St. Louis, Michael was presented with an individual trophy, earning 14th place in mood differential equations. Yeah, right? At the convention held in St. Louis, Michael was presented with an individual, oh, I just read that. He has been a participant on both the Westfield High School chemistry and physics teams at the Merck State Science Day competitions, and he's earned perfect scores on the SAT in reading, writing, and U.S. history. Michael also takes the time to volunteer. He was selected as one of Westfield High School's transition leaders who are trained to run groups that support the transition of 9th grades into the school. Congratulations, Michael. Amy Liang. Hi, Amy. Congratulations. Among her many talents, Amy's a computer whiz. She has participated in Girls Who Code, a highly prestigious and competitive program with the mission of familiarizing high school girls with computer science. By the end of the program, she created an iPhone app prototype, which was selected to present to the CEO of Uber. In addition, she participated in a computer programming hackathon last year and in Moody's Mega Math Challenge, where her team received honorable mention. Amy was one of a select group of students in the state to attend the New Jersey Governor's School of Engineering and Technology. She has been inducted into the National Honor Society. Active in Westfield High School, Amy is on the Westfield High School varsity swim team and has been the principal cellist since her freshman year on the school's chamber orchestra. She was accepted into both the Central Jersey Regional Orchestra and the New Jersey All-State Orchestra. Amy is co-president of Westfield High School's chapter of Kids Walk for Kids with Cancer, and she also volunteers at the Westfield Library and at the Washa Edison Chinese School. So congratulations, Amy. And last but certainly not least, Nicholas Youssef. Nicholas was honored this summer as one of 5 students on the Westfield High School mathematics team, which brought home the Blue Ribbon Award at the Mu Alpha Theta National Championship in St. Louis. The previous year, Nicholas placed 13th in the nation in the Moody's Mega Math Challenge. Nicholas earned a perfect composite score on the ACT, widely used for college admission and placement criteria. He was also inducted in the National Honor Society, recognizing scholarship, leadership, service, and character. Nicholas has earned straight A's since the 3rd grade. Wow. He's a member of the esteemed Westfield High School Wind Ensemble, in which he plays the clarinet. Nicholas swims competitively for our state champion Westfield High School swim team and is a 10-year member of the Westfield Area Y swim team. He's in his second year volunteering as a coach for PAL flag football, and he also volunteered in our school district STEM camp, assisting in an electronics class to help younger children learn about science and math. Congratulations, Nicholas. Thank you for coming tonight and giving us a chance to recognize your amazing accomplishments. We are proud to have you represent Westfield, and I think Lori wants to get a picture, and then we will set you free.
Do you want a chair? Everyone come up.
Alrighty.
Have a good girl.
Move the, you want to move the chair, Mayor? Move the chair, or you want to go to the photo?
Hang on one second.
Thanks, Mark.
I'm like all after.
Good.
Am I in the way here?
No, I don't think so. No, we're good. Okay, ready? Set. One more. Okay.
Great, thank you guys.
I think we need more
Good
time.
company you're in,
All right,
Rich.
just stay in place a minute.
Stay
For parents. The photo op.
Good, thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's incredible.
It's a lot of
Holy
accomplishments.
schmoly, right?
Yeah.
We haven't gone school days since third grade. And now we're playing to an empty house.
That's great.
Very impressive. All right, do we have any other announcements? Amy?
Yeah, hard to follow that, but yes. Congratulations to Kimberly Legan, Westfield High School Social Studies teacher, who has been selected for the 2016 Krista McAuliffe Reach for the Stars Award. The award will be presented by the National Council for the Social Studies, which supports research and classroom application projects that improve social studies education, foster enlightened citizenship, and promote civic competence. Kim is being recognized for her Adopt a Country project that she uses in her 9th grade Global Perspectives course, which I remember from my older son taking it. As the grant recipient, Legan will receive a check for $2,500 for classroom materials. She has also been invited to be a presenter at the 97th Annual NCSS Conference in San Francisco, California, November 17th through 19th, 2017, when she will discuss the implementation of her project.
Very good, thank you. Charles, you have anything?
Yes, I do. Two of Westfield's teachers were presenters this month at the annual conference of the Art Educators of New Jersey held in Long Branch on October 11th. Edison Intermediate School art educators Allison Hooper and Helen Fries presented a workshop on writing and illustrating your own children's book. They introduced other art instructors participating in the workshop to a variety of activities to inspire elementary students to write, illustrate, and incorporate technology to create their own imaginative story. The hands-on workshop incorporated several children's books as examples, including Wrong Way, a book illustrated by Allison and written by her mother.
Great.
I have two announcements. Number one, a few days after our last board meeting, one of our intermediate school teachers became a hero. Matthew Califat, Roosevelt Intermediate School language arts teacher, saved a woman from drowning after she was pulled underwater in a strong riptide at Point Pleasant Beach. Although unconscious when taken to the hospital, the woman fully recovered. Matt found out later that the woman is a doctor who, thanks to Matt's heroic act, will have her own chance to save the lives of others. Congratulations. That was got a lot of play in the news, so that's great. And then the other announcement, congratulations to 28 Westfield High School students who have been named commended students in the 2017 National Merit Scholarship Program. According to the National Merit Scholarship Program, these students take place in the top 5% of the students in the country who took the preliminary SAT Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. The names of these high achievers can be found on the districts and high schools' websites.
Great, thank you. Rob, do you have
I
something?
do. Congratulations to Westfield High School senior Natalia Zeller-McLean, who has been named to a National Hispanic Scholar by the College Board based on her PSAT test scores last year. Approximately 2% of the roughly 250,000 Hispanic students who have taken the test earned the award.
Yes. Be sure to stop by Franklin School this Saturday. The time-honored annual Pumpkin Fair will be held from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Games and refreshments are planned for all ages. And if you don't have a goldfish bowl, you should buy one, because your kids are going to come home with a goldfish. That's it.
I have an announcement for senior citizens. Westfield Public School District is providing a Senior Citizens Golden Pass to Westfield residents 65 years and older to attend many school-sponsored events for free. The pass will include Westfield High School concerts, musicals, and matinee performances of plays. The pass will also be accepted at athletic events. Westfield residents 65 years and older can obtain the Golden Pass, about the size of a credit card, in the business office of the Westfield Board of Education, located on the first floor of 302 Elm Street. A list of popular scheduled events in the school calendar also will be provided. We welcome our senior citizens and thank them for their years of support. For more information on the program, you may call these two numbers, 908-789-4414 or 908-789-4463. Very nice.
I have an announcement about the upcoming Candidates Night. The Westfield Parent-Teacher Council is hosting the Board of Education's Candidates Night on Wednesday, November 2nd from 7:30 to 9 p.m. in the Westfield High School Auditorium. 3 seats will be available on the board. Brendan Galligan, Ginny Lights, and Amy Root are seeking re-election, and Mike Beelan is seeking his first term on the board. The evening will be moderated by a member of the League of Women Voters, and candidates will be asked a variety of questions which will be gathered from the public prior to that evening. Questions may be submitted to ptc@westfieldnjk12.org by October 28th. Questions will be compiled and considered on relevance and time allotted. A few questions will also be taken from the floor the night of the event. The election for the Westfield Board of Education will take place on Tuesday, November 8th.
Thank you. I have an announcement about our next Board of Education meeting, which is scheduled for Tuesday, November 1st at 7:30 p.m. at 302 Elm Street. The complete agenda will be available on the Board of Education website on Friday, October 28th. It's going to be a busy week for some of you. You have no announcements?
I do not.
At this point, I'd like to recognize the public for agenda items only. Seeing no one come to the podium, we will dive right into the superintendent's report. Dr. Rowland.
Thank you. And this evening we have 2 reports. Each report, however, has more than one section. The first report deals with the results of the assessments that students completed last year. And the second part of that presentation will also talk about, in general, the graduation statistics for the class of 2016. But to start the presentation, I'd like to introduce Mr. Paul Pinero, who is our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and he will present the results of the assessments from last year.
That's just for special effects, right? That's just a visual.
Hi, thank you, Dr. Dolan, and welcome everybody. This is our annual testing data information that comes in, and I thought I'd bring it up as a contrast to the students that we just saw, because this is data, these are scores, but if you look in this big book, you're not going to find what you found by bringing those kids up here. So thank you for honoring them and for sharing with me and everybody here their accomplishments. Dr. Weissman leaned into me and he said, "When do these kids sleep?" And it's amazing how much they accomplish. And while it's not reflected in this big book of data, which I can now put away because it's for dramatic effect, while that's not in there, data is still important. And so I'm here to do the annual presentation of our test performance scores. So we'll start out with some discussion of, well, first, what we actually assess, required to, the state requires us to assess each year. So in 2016, it was the second administration of the PARC, the Partnership for Assessment of Readiness for College and Careers tests. There was testing in grades 3 through 11 for English Language Arts, and in math 3 through 8 with end-of-course assessments in Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. Another required assessment is the New Jersey Ask Science, and those were administered in grades 4 and 8. So when we speak of PARC, there are 5 levels of performance. There's level 1, which is not yet meeting grade level expectations. Level 2 is partially meeting those expectations. Level 3 is approaching, level 4 is meeting, and level 5 is exceeding grade level expectations. So the next 2 slides are going to show us the breakdown of all of the tests that our students took. The first slide is English Language Arts. So just to set it up for you, the comparison on this slide here is Westfield versus, so Westfield is blue, of course. The state is red, and Park states are the states that combined took the Park test. So we have the New Jersey scores, and then we have other states that took Park as well. As of 2016 spring, there were 8 of them. So what we demonstrate here is our scores relative to the state and to the Park states. So traveling from left to right, you'll see grades 3 through 11 in English Language Arts. For the most part, you'll see in all cases, Westfield performs well above the state and the Park states. It's nice to see that the state outperforms all the other Park states combined as well. New Jersey, in fact, today was just listed in the paper at second highest graduation rate in the state. I'm sorry, in the country. So that's pretty good. So New Jersey does a nice job, and certainly relative to New Jersey, Westfield does an exceptional job. So maybe one thing to point out, aside from the fact that Westfield achieves approaching, meeting, and exceeding expectations at high rates, is that within this data, it's worth noting that half of the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders completed the graduation requirement through another state-approved assessment other than Park. Okay, we'll move on to the math scores in Park. So same deal here. You see the approaching, the level 3, 4, and 5 performance scores, and they go from 3rd grade to 8th grade with Algebra 1 geometry and Algebra 2 listed as well. Same thing there. You'll see that Westfield performs above the state as well as the Park states. Maybe worth noting first that among our 8th graders, about half of those students took the Algebra 1 assessment. So what that means is when you see Math 8 as a test score, that does not include students who took Algebra 1 in 8th grade. Those scores are included in the Algebra 1 performance scores. So after grade 7, there's a mix of who's taking what tests where because of the fact that there are different math levels. So I think that made sense. So in addition to that, approximately half of the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders completed their graduation requirement through another state-approved assessment option.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
When you make that point of the notes on both graphs, are those, and I'm not sure how to phrase this, if half of our students are taking other approved, state-approved assessments to move on, is that calculated somewhere? Is that shown in some sort of statistic so that it because sometimes these numbers can be skewed, which is why I'm sure you're not skewed, but it could be different if they were included. Is that weighted somewhere, factored somewhere? It doesn't really matter.
Well, within the Park numbers, there's no account for that.
Okay.
In fact, that's why even on the state documents, they remind everyone, it's standard to some extent that 8th graders in any school district will also take Algebra 1. They're the more advanced math students. So the state tends to make that note as well. I think we have a very high percentage of 8th graders who take Algebra 1, which is advanced math for 8th grade. As far as the students who took other assessments to meet the graduation requirement, they don't show up in any way here. They show up, if they used SAT, they show up in SAT scores, obviously, and ACT, et cetera. But they're not reflected here. And that's one of the reasons that we do point it out. So, yeah, you're right about that. Okay. All right, so moving along, New Jersey Ask Science is also something that we give each year, and that is given at the 4th and 8th grade levels. These are the aspects of science that are assessed. Okay, and there's the results. So this time there's no Park states because this is just New Jersey. So what we have here is the blue is still Westfield. The red in this case is the district factor group. when it comes to New Jersey Ask, they use, you may remember that, those of you who've been on the board a little while, but there was something called the DFG, the District Factor Group, which is used for comparison, and that has some connection to peer communities. So that would be districts like our own who match over a dozen characteristics as far as education levels and median incomes and that sort of thing. So the District Factor Group is still used with New Jersey Ask Science. So best way to put that is that Westfield is blue, our peer schools are in red, and the state appears in green. Overall, it looks like New Jersey and our peers and ourselves do well on these tests. All right, so that takes us out of the state standardized test review, and it takes us into the high school's SAT, ACT, and AP results for 2016. First slide shows how many students achieved perfect SAT scores. So there were 39. It's always great to see Lori Korecki release those press releases that point out students who are achieving this. And these are the categories, the tests specifically, that students, the 39 students achieved perfect scores in. Okay. This then, with regard to SATs, is a mean comparison for 2016. So this is just for 2016. So there's Westfield, the state, and the nation. When we look at College Board data, they provide comparative data that is based on the state and then the nation. So when we look at that, you'll see that Westfield across critical reading, math, and writing performs pretty, relatively a lot higher than the state and the nation. And again, New Jersey, it's nice to see outperforms the nation. So it's nice to see that New Jersey is a strong state. The next slide shows a 3-year comparison of the same kind of data. So what we see there is Westfield, state, nation again under critical reading, but then we look at 2014, 15, and 16. So you'll see that for the most part, we perform pretty consistently from year to year. And again, we consistently outperform the state and the nation. In ACT, we have 42 perfect scores among our Westfield High School students, and there are the categories reading, math, writing, English, and science. Okay. And then we have a mean comparison on the next slide of our ACT performance. So again, Westfield performing above the state and the nation in English, math, reading, and science. We then have an AP 5-year summary, advanced placement assessments, 5-year summary. This is combined. We take, as you can see from there, the first column is the number of courses we offer. So we've offered 17 for the last 5 years. The second column is the number of subject tests taken. So in addition to courses that students may take, they may take a test that wasn't offered. So that's why that number looks a little different. And sometimes they get help from, they get the individual help from teachers who might be experts in those areas. Then the next column is, so 3 is considered passing, 3 and higher, 3, 4, 5 on the scale of 1 to 5. So 3s and above, those percentages are listed in the third column. And then there's the state scores and then global scores for AP. So what these numbers represent are, if you take all of the different tests together that our students take, they come up with an average for all of those tests. So all 17 tests are turned into the averages you see in column 3. Okay. All right. The last slide is just demonstrating what our testing schedule looks like for this year. So in 2017, the window for Park is listed there. It's actually the same for grades 3 through, this year it's 3 through 8 as well as the high school. So all Park tests are given in the same window, which is just under a month, and then we have become very adept at each grade span level of scheduling it in such a way that it's least disruptive to our regular program. And last year, I feel like we really were able to max out the time that we had that wasn't for testing, or while students were testing, other students were in instruction. You also just see that the other state mandated test in there, New Jersey Ask, that's listed as well. Okay, and,
Sorry.
yes.
What's the one at the high school, on its own line, NJ?
Oh, that's the
BCSC.
biology competency
Got it.
test.
Mhm.
For that, we receive raw data that's not comparative in any way, and the state just provides that, yeah. So, the last slide is just showing where parents can go to our website and click on, Park Guide for Parents, Park Guide for Parents. So there's more information on testing, that you can find on our district website. Any questions on the testing? Jane?
Can you just give us a brief of where the state now stands as far as obligations to take these tests?
Sure. So the latest guidance that we've gotten from the state, I guess you're referring to what our students' testing requirements are, current seniors, juniors, sophomores, et cetera. Okay.
That and the availability for opting out,
Okay.
or not.
Oh, yeah, I'll start on that first. So I think the best way to answer maybe your second question of the opting out is to just quickly go over what the state has issued as the expectations. So for the classes, the current seniors, juniors, and sophomores, they have to either achieve passing scores on certain PARCC assessments. So they have to achieve a passing score on PARCC ELA 9, 10, or 11, and the same in math, which corresponds to what they're taking. Or they can achieve certain scores on alternative assessments such as the ACT, SAT, and AccuPlacer. And if they don't do either of those, a student is able to achieve the graduation requirement by going through a student portfolio process that the school takes them through. It's a series of assignments and work that they have to do and then submit really to the state and county. So that's for the current seniors, juniors, and sophomores. They have to either pass any of the PARCC tests that are available, that they're eligible for, they say, or one of the alternates, or do the portfolio assignment. The class of 2020, which is our current freshmen, they can demonstrate graduation assessment through the same alternative means as those in the classes of 2016 through 19, the ones I just mentioned, provided that students in the class of 2020 or our freshmen take all end-of-course PARCC assessments for which they are eligible. That starts to answer your question. In other words, the students still must take all of the tests that they're scheduled to take if they're the current freshman. And they can still use another assessment if needed. And then if neither of those requirements are met, then they can also take, do the portfolio assessment, the alternate portfolio assessment. For the class after that, our current 8th graders, students who have not demonstrated proficiency, well, then it changes up a little bit for them. So they're expected to take the ELA 10, or they have to pass as a requirement the ELA 10, so the 10th grade English Language Arts test, and then the Algebra 1 assessment. So for the current 8th graders, their requirement will be to pass the ELA 10 and pass the Algebra 1 in order to graduate, or they can demonstrate, or they would then do the portfolio process. So that's, yeah.
Did we have anybody do the portfolio process last year?
Yes, we had there was duplication between 12 and 15, I
That's
think.
correct.
And all made it through in that process. It took a lot of work. Our teachers worked really hard.
And our students worked hard too,
Yeah.
that's true. They did.
They did. They
So,
really did.
and so by the end of it, I assume that there was a reasonable understanding of what the expectations of the county were and the state.
Yes,
As you say, we got through it, and they
Right.
were acceptable
Mhm.
outcomes.
right, yes.
So what are we doing to communicate the kind of shifting requirements? Because even between like 8th and 9th grade, it's 2 different requirements. And then if you have upperclassmen, then I feel like everybody has a pretty good handle on what their sophomores, juniors, and seniors
Right.
need to have done.
That's right.
But I'm not so sure that our freshmen and our 8th grade parents
Right.
know. So I'm just curious, what can we do, what are we doing to better communicate those?
Right. So, at the building levels, it's being communicated. I think certainly we can, and we plan to reinforce it. These are, maybe 8 weeks old.
Yes.
So they're, right.
Yeah, these are new from the state. It's
Reasonably
great.
new.
And actually, tomorrow morning, we're meeting with secondary principals, and the first topic on the agenda is to talk about this. And it's really is so confusing, and if you have an older child, you probably think you understand what's going to happen, but if you have a 9th grader, it's different, and if you have an 8th grader, it's different again. So that is the topic, the first topic for tomorrow, is how best to communicate that, certainly more than once, in a number of different ways so people understand it.
There is a, so there's like a handy dandy matrix that the state does provide.
Okay.
I think we do have this posted already on our website, but we do want to accompany it, as Gretchen says, with a little bit more, with a little bit more information. But when you look at the matrix, it really is like a syllogism, either this and or that, and if that, and you must this, and under these circumstances, So it's really something else. And, I consider myself and my colleagues in similar districts fairly intelligent, and we've spent a lot of time going through this and making sure, is that what it means? I think that's what it means. So we've all done our test presentations and flashed this,
And are we once again gonna have that website up on the high school if the kids are opting to not take the park because they have fulfilled the requirement? You put that in last year, that you went onto the website and you said, I have fulfilled my requirement through something, I'm not gonna be taking the park.
Right. Well, as Dr. Dolan said, we're going to be meeting with the secondary principals tomorrow. I imagine we'll do something very similar, but there would be clarifications because of the changes. But yeah, you're right, Peggy. We'll do a similar outreach.
I can tell you right now that if you go to the assessments tab within Genesis for your kid, it will tell you what the most recent park scores are, and if they have helped your child meet these requirements, it's banded in green to help show that your kid is now over the hurdle and okay. And that's been updated with the results from last spring's testing for current high school students.
Thank you for reminding me. I didn't realize they had updated that already. I knew we did that last year, and I thought it was really helpful and
Yes.
useful. And I was thankful that the high school was able to put that together.
Mhm.
That's great. Thank you for mentioning that.
Sure.
All good? Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
So Paul had mentioned before that the state results for graduation rates were just released, and they were in the paper. I think that was today. And I'm going to give a little more detail about how the Westfield High School class of 2016 did. So on graduation day, which was June 24th, we had 464 seniors receive their diplomas. Another 4 seniors had work they had to complete over the summer, and they did do that, which resulted in 99.2% of our seniors being graduated last year. Out of the class of 2016, 97% are continuing their education in some way. That number includes 91% attending 4-year colleges and universities, 5% attending 2-year colleges, and 1% in some type of vocational, business, or other post-high school institution. Additionally, we had 1.3% of students go directly into employment, 0.6% went into a transition program to further develop them for work and/or education, 0.4% directly into the military, 0.4% their future plans were unreported to the schools, and 0.2%, which I believe is one person, announced that they were taking a gap year. Out of the class of 2016, we have a list here of our most popular universities. Not surprisingly, we have a number in New Jersey and certainly a number in the Northeast. A little bit outside that geographical area, we also have Virginia Tech, University of Michigan, University of South Carolina, and Indiana University. So again, those are the ones, the most frequent universities that are attended. Additionally, from the class of 2016, we have representation at Cornell, Dartmouth, and University of Pennsylvania. All in all, if you look at it, we're pleased to say that members of the class are attending 162 different colleges and universities. And those colleges and universities are in 35 states and 2 of our students are attending universities out of our country, which is a great thing. University and college is supposed to prepare you for the broader world, so it's wonderful to see that our students are going to far-flung places and doing well. We truly wish the members of the class the best, and their parents as well. I have to say I am lucky enough that I do get updates from both students. I've gotten a few from the class of 2016, as a matter of fact, or their parents who tell me how they're doing. We really would like to hear that. So whether you contact me or whether you contact someone in the high school you were friendly with or you had a mentor there, please let us know how you're doing, if there are things we could do better, if there are things we are doing well. We really want to hear that. We want to make sure that our graduates are prepared for whatever they're going to do next in their lives. And so please let us know how you're doing. So that would be the first report, unless there are questions. Now, the second report is a compilation of many, many state requirements. So the first one focuses on the week of October 3rd by state law is called the Week of Respect. Certainly we really do work on, in the climates of our schools, in the culture and communities of our schools, in promoting respect. We want to make sure that our students learn respect for themselves, respect for others, and respect for community. And that clearly doesn't happen in one lesson, and it clearly doesn't happen in 1 week, but that 1 week we do highlight the topic of respect in different ways. So for example, we have classroom readings and discussions. And this is so easy to do, whether you're talking with pre-K or kindergarten students and you're talking about a picture book. If you pick the right picture book, there are wonderful lessons to be learned about respect and how to treat people appropriately. But it continues all the way through, and so we have students in our high school classes who are reading wonderful literature that are addressing those same topics or similar topics on a much higher level. So that's one very effective way for our students to learn more about it, to think more about it, and to put themselves in other people's shoes. We also have lessons that are taught by our counselors, and obviously the lessons will be quite different whether they're taught at the 1st grade level, the 7th grade level, or the 12th grade level. Morning announcements also focus on respect, and again, try to build on that culture and the culture of respect and the community that we want in each one of our schools. And also, we also have older students who bring messages about the importance of respect and how you treat others and yourself to younger students. And we find that those experiences not only help our younger students, they also help our older students to be able to communicate that and think a little bit more about it before they present to the younger ones. And we find that to be very effective as well. The state also declares a School Violence Awareness Week, which happens to be this week. Most of the things we do have to do with reviewing aspects of the Code of Conduct, and schools will highlight certain aspects of our Code of Conduct depending on what our experiences have been in that particular school the previous year. If there's something that we're a bit worried about, if there really have been a few fights in that school and we want to send home the message that that's not allowed, we don't do that in this school when we have differences, then that might be a point that's highlighted. Additionally, we review the elements of the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights to constantly remind people and students that the way you treat others truly does matter. I'm also required to present a report on statistics regarding violence, vandalism, substance abuse, and harassment, intimidation, and bullying. These numbers are presented twice a year. Right now, I'm reporting on, following the requirements, reporting on January to June 30th, which is a 6-month period. Later on in the year, in the springtime, I'll be reporting on the other part of the year, which is July 1 to December 31st. Since that 6-month period only has 4 months of school year, it often has lower numbers, because right now I'm reporting on 6 months of last year's school year. Later on, I'll be reporting on 4 months of this school year. So, for January 1 through June 30th, 2016, these are the number of incidents. The state is very clear on what their definitions are for each of these. So there were 13 incidents of violence. In just about every instance, those were fights where at least 2 students were involved. We also had 1 instance of confirmed substance abuse, 4 incidents regarding weapons, 4 incidents of harassment, intimidation, or bullying affirmed by the board. You can see that there are 30 offenders. That is because, again, a number of the violence ones had to do with fights. There was more than one student, both of whom were offenders. And also, we had an incident regarding weapons last year, which involved quite a number of students, so that's why the numbers were so high there. A further breakdown that's required by the state is what we do with these incidents. Did we report it to the police? Was a complaint filed? Were students suspended? And all those numbers are listed there. In a few minutes, I'm going to speak about the memorandum of agreement that we have with law enforcement, which details a lot of, is a complaint filed? Do you contact police? But right now, those are the numbers for this particular period. The next area we're required to report has to do specifically with the harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents. During this half of the year, there were 4 incidents. As you can see, none of those were in the first 5 protected categories. But on the next slide, you can see that out of those 4, the following areas, protected categories, were mentioned, whether it was gender, sexual orientation, or other distinguishing characteristic, which is as broad as it sounds. It's any characteristic that is identified about a person. And then you can see what were the district responses. We always involve parent conferences and student conferences as a basic floor, and then what happens after that really depends on the age of the student, whether this is the second time, whether the child has other concerns. But we have concerns about their work, and what kind of support do they need, and what kind of redirection do they need. And then we have a summary on the next page about, so how did that harassment, intimidation, or bullying take place? In this instance, out of the 4, 2 of them did have to do with electronic communication, and that continues to be a challenge. And then you can see a summary of which schools had the confirmed instances of bullying for the second half of the school year. We always list the names of the anti-bullying specialists, because should anyone have a concern, should anyone have questions, every school has at least one anti-bullying specialist, and their information is on the school website page, also the district website page, and we invite people to reach out. You can also find information on our district page if you go under About the District, and there is a separate section there for harassment, intimidation, and bullying, which might help and answer some questions. As promised, I'm now going to talk about the memorandum of agreement that takes place between boards of education and law enforcement in New Jersey. This has been around for more than 20 years, and it truly is, I think, a very helpful document. As you might imagine, there is quite a bit of law and code that talks about students and students of a certain age, what's required, what can law enforcement do, what can schools do, when do we have to communicate. And it's very helpful that for over 20 years this is compiled in one document. The state provides it, and then at the local level, I meet with the chief of police. I also meet with at the county level law enforcement. We review it. When there are changes in law, we talk about how that's going to be affected. And it's a very helpful document that we review every single year, update, and then it is signed by the superintendent, the board president, the chief of police, the executive county superintendent, and the county prosecutor. Some of the topics that are in there talk about the school safety and security plans and drills. Always trying to learn from what law enforcement knows and make improvements. And also, what is our obligation? There are a number of items for if something happens, we don't have a choice. If someone's found and they're in possession of a illegal substance, we don't have a choice. We can't say, oh, well, he's a good kid or something. We have to report that to the police. That's not an option. Weapons are similar, and certainly child abuse, there are very specific requirements for us if we suspect it. We don't have to confirm it. Someone else is charged with that. But if we suspect child abuse, we have to act on that, and there are very specific requirements for that. So I think we're fortunate in quite a few ways, including that we do and have had a good working relationship with our local police force and also with the county offices as well. And when we do have problems, we already have relationships established. We can reach out. We have support. And in my experience, all the adults you're working with in those situations are focused on what is the best thing to be done for the students who are involved. And we really are fortunate in that respect, and I appreciate the working relationship we do have with law enforcement.
Through the president, I have a quick question. With the, excuse me, with having a police officer that's paid through the board, does that impact the police being notified versus not being notified? When does that police officer get involved in an incident, and does that impact the reporting?
It's not automatic, no.
Okay.
No, it is for some items. It depends on the level, you know, is there a charge or not? And again, schools are not notified of absolutely everything, and not everything immediately goes to a school resource officer.
Okay.
You know, so it will
But does that
depend.
impact then whether or not that's considered police being notified versus police not being notified? And a complaint
No.
filed or not filed?
No, and
Okay.
we're honestly quite careful to make sure a school resource officer is still an officer.
Mhm.
And every now and then I read
That's
about.
what I was asking.
Yeah, exactly. And every now and then I read about an incident that happens in another state generally, and I think, well, that's not the job of a police officer. We are still the educators, and we're still in charge of discipline in the schools. And a school resource officer is something very different, and we're very careful to understand that. So we have not had any problem like that.
Anybody else? Any questions for Dr. Dolan?
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask the board to approve the minutes of our previous board meeting held on September 20th, 2016, and the private minutes of the same date. Can I have a second, please? Ginny, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain because I missed the meeting.
Me too.
Chris and Rob. Okay, thank you. Personnel, Mark.
I'd like the board to consider personnel items 1 through 29. Second, please. Ginny, thank you. Dr. Dolan, you have any comments?
I do. We have 2 retirements this evening. Both of them happen to be secretaries, and both of they're 2 longtime secretaries in the district. Colleen Coyle has worked in special services, and Loretta or Lori Schickalone for several years has been the Westfield High School, the main secretary. Both of these individuals, they're very different personalities, but both of them share that they are personable. They have a smile, whether you're the parent coming in and not quite knowing what the procedure is, or whether you are the student who may be a bit confused, or whether you are a staff member. So they're certainly going to be missed, and we appreciate all of their efforts over the years.
Anybody else? Questions? Dana, please.
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Langhardt,
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick,
Yes.
Peggy Oster,
Yes.
Charles Ostroff,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Nothing else?
Nothing further. Facilities, Brendan's not here. I don't know if he gave a report to anyone. I'll try and recap very briefly our last facilities committee meeting, pipe up if I forget something, but I know that we went over the projects that have been done, the status of projects done over the summer, starting to plan for projects to be done next summer. We talked about the status of the field at Kaler and the plans to replace that. And then the Westfield Soccer Association also came, Peter Franks came and made a presentation to the committee about the use of temporary lights. And we had a couple of follow-up questions for him. And I think unless Brendan has new information, we were waiting to hear back. I anticipate that if those answers are satisfactory to the committee, that he likely will come in November to make a presentation to the full board. I think that's it. Dana, anything else from the facilities committee?
No, I think that's it. The solar is moving along. We're meeting in the next couple of weeks to the first job meeting, and they're gonna start installation probably within the next month or 2.
We have an appointed contractor?
Oh, yeah, we've had that for a long time.
Did they give us an idea when we're gonna finish? I think you told us that.
The plan was to be done by the end of December.
Right before the.
So I think we're
winter,
still
really.
hoping to have that done.
Okay.
Whether we're gonna have all the approvals from the state or whatever by then, I'm not sure, but
Right.
we're still on track.
Okay.
And there were some there was a conversation about upgrades to one of the baseball fields. I don't know if you want to
The
call that out as well. The JV
Yeah,
the
the
boosters and the
Westfield
board in conjunction.
Baseball- Yeah, Westfield Baseball League.
Right.
Is gonna pay for part of it, and the board is gonna pay for part of it. That hasn't started yet either, but we have an agreement with them that we're working on having them sign, and then we're gonna, contract for some of the work, and they're gonna contract for the other work.
And it's the JV baseball field behind Edison,
Yes,
correct? And it's not the boosters, it's the Westfield Baseball
Baseball,
Association,
yes.
sorry.
Yep.
Okay. Long-range planning, Ginny.
No specific report, but Dr. Dolan and I are hoping to schedule a meeting in November.
Great. Policies, Chris?
Yeah, before I go with what's on the agenda, we had a meeting on October 5th. Dana gave a presentation about the board going to a paperless method of meeting. We're gonna start that on November 15th is the date we picked now, so.
Mhm. It's
as-
a pilot.
Pilot program, right. So as we start that, if you have comments, please feel free to let us know what's good, what's bad, and we'll try and adjust accordingly or take those comments, do what we can with them, right?
Yep.
I'd like the board to consider for approval the 6 things on the agenda. 6 policies that were reviewed at that meeting. 0142.1 nepotism, 1310 employment of the business administrator / board secretary, 2110 mission statement, 3111 creating positions, 5460 high school graduation, 6511 direct deposit. Can I have a second?
Second?
Any questions?
Can you call out the differences from the ones that we wanted to look at ourselves versus the CUSAC requirements?
Probably at this point I can't, no.
Oh, okay.
Well, for example, the mission statement one, we just
Right.
revised because we had done that through strategic planning. The first 2, I believe, really are certainly
New-
required.
New definitions.
Yes, exactly right.
Statutory changes.
I think, yeah, the nepotism was statutory, right?
Yes.
In the future, maybe you could do that for me in your notes.
Sure, you want that?
I do. Well, it's nice to know why they were looked at and a little more than just the name of the policy. Thanks. And then I won't have to ask.
Duly noted. Yeah,
Thanks.
always feel free to contact me beforehand, and we could talk about it.
Yeah, I think
Well, I
that
got this
Ginny,
at 4:00 today.
the high school graduation was a result of part of what Paul spoke about tonight, updating it
The
to
credits were
comply.
changed.
Right.
I knew that, yeah.
And direct deposit, I think, was a CUSAC one. So, yeah.
Well, that was just more of what, we were allowed to do that.
Right.
although
That's a whole
some
new
people-
policy, right? It doesn't exist
Yes,
now.
sorry.
Right, that's
Right,
correct.
yeah. I did read the notes on the policies. They were
Um,
posted.
okay, I think, Chris, anything else you want to say about those?
No.
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Langhart.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Charles Ostroff.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And the second item, I'd like the board to affirm the superintendent's decision on HIV incident 17R01 for the reasons set forth within that decision. Now, a second. Ginny?
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Langhart.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Charles Ostroff.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes. Nothing else? Chris? No?
We tentatively scheduled a meeting for November 9th, and I'll just, we have to check back and see the availability of all the members.
Okay.
But that's on the schedule for now. Nothing else.
Great, thank you. Curriculum, instruction, and program. I'd like to ask the board to consider item 1, to approve the following district field trips that were attached, and overnight field trips. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Peggy. Anybody have any questions about any of the field trips? Dana?
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Langhart.
Yes.
Ginny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olick.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Charles Ostroff.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And then I'd like to ask the board, I'm going to go a little bit out of order and ask that the board approve for first reading the visual and performing arts curriculum that are on the agenda. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Thanks, Rob. I circulated notes. There weren't significant changes. They were reviewed in the normal 5-year cycle. There hasn't been, new state standards have not been issued, so there wasn't a lot to change in that respect. But, yeah, if anyone has any questions, I tried to set forth the distinctions in my notes. Any questions? Okay, Dana.
Are you just doing visual?
Yeah, because I'm gonna
Okay.
have Andrea speak
Okay.
to the social studies.
Mark Friedman,
Yes.
Bob Garrison,
Yes.
Chris Langhart,
Yes.
Jenny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Oley.
Yes.
Peggy Oster,
Yes.
Charles Ostrov,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And then I'd just like to ask the board to approve for first reading the social studies curriculum on the agenda. Can I have a second, please? Jenny, thank you. So Andrea Brennan has agreed to come tonight. Thank you very much, because she is much more adept at walking you through the social studies changes. I know I say this all the time, but really the curriculum meetings are the best committee meetings, and those of you who aren't on are miss it, so we're bringing a taste of it to you. I thought Andrea could probably give us a sense of the new changes and the progression. So come on up and.
Thank you for the invitation. I will get on board with the paperless pilot next time. So I have two supplements. One is a chart, and then the other is kind of a graphic overview that will maybe help make sense of the courses that I'm going to be speaking about. So I'll do a brief overview of our curriculum revision process. We had a committee of teachers that teach 10th and 11th grade social studies. And what we did recently is we focused on revising our required courses in 10th and 11th grade, and that's what you can take a look at on the chart. So in 10th and 11th grade, students have some choices in terms of how they're going to meet their graduation requirements in each of those years. And generally speaking, the teachers worked really well to make sure that some of our content was shifted from one grade level to the next, so that we have enough time to go in depth in terms of the topics from US 1 and US 2. American Studies, there were really very minor changes. We wanted to get American Studies, which is our humanities course, in line with when we're revising our 11th grade courses in that year. And AP US History, again, had minor changes to it based on what the College Board determines we need to actually include in that curriculum. So one of the things that I tasked the committee with taking a look at was something that the National Council for the Social Studies developed as a framework or guide for districts and states when they're revising curriculum and taking a look at their standards, and that's the graphic organizer you have in front of you that looks like a wheel. It says the inquiry arc. And basically, the idea here is that we're preparing students for college, career, and civic life. And the National Council for the Social Studies is, basically saying that a lot of these skills definitely cross over into literacy, the area of reading and writing and analytical thinking. And that at the heart of that, a best practice in social studies is not the root memorization and recall, but questioning is the key to getting students to understand the concepts and apply those concepts. So that's the start of the C3 framework, is the questioning aspect of it and encouraging students to develop questions. And the 4 dimensions outline the learning process, starting with students in terms of helping them craft great questions and ideas around, okay, well, what are we going to be learning about? And then applying the discipline-specific content. So if you're studying civics, American history, world history, geography, you're applying those concepts to your research and your investigation. And then you're evaluating the sources that you're using, taking a look at perspectives. Is the source valid? Why or why not? And then finally, the 4th part of that is communicating your findings and taking informed action. And that looks different at our various levels. So the committee really used this framework to say, what are we doing that really works well and is serving our students, and then how can we take things to the next level to ensure best practices in social studies. So I'm going to speak about one example. So in all of our courses, we focus on developing students' ability to think and act like historians through emphasizing analytical thinking that I mentioned before. And what we call that in social studies is historical thinking. And historical thinking is really the ability to analyze, read, and think in an analytical way. And those are the skills that are necessary for students to have in order to study history and tell historical stories. So basically, we're asking the students consistently at each level, how do we know what we know about the past? And what happened and what does it mean? So that's the big idea and the big picture. These historical thinking skills are key to help students really master the content, whether it's civics, history, geography, economics, and it really helps guide them to become better writers, better thinkers, and better citizens. So in all, there are about 9 historical thinking skills, depending on which historians you speak with. Continuity and change over time is one such skill that's really emphasized in US 2. Causation is another one. Chronological thinking is another, just to name a few. So this past May, the example I'm going to be talking about comes from an AP US history class, and a lot of times when I come to SIP and we talk about an AP course, you know, I always get the question, well, what happens after the AP test? And I had a great answer this time. So I said that this past May, the AP history teachers decided to change and adapt their final project for the students. Students had the opportunity to apply historical thinking skills to think and act like historians by researching, planning, and developing their own historical documentaries. Their work emphasized the historical thinking skill of contextualization and synthesis. So the students had to research a historical event or topic. They had to apply the historical setting to a broader context or the larger picture by connecting their topic to a major theme such as culture and society or American national identity or politics and power. Finally, the students were challenged to look forward and backward in history. So basically, we asked them to connect their topic or their event to another time period in American history. So that's that synthesis piece. The projects were self-directed and independent, so each documentary, each student decided what topic they were curious about in U.S. history. They had to create not only the documentary, but a research paper to accompany it. They conducted historical research on that topic, and the ultimate product was that 10-minute historical documentary. And speaking with the teachers, the results were really very impressive. The topics were across the board on a wide range of different areas, from the AIDS crisis in the 80s to the power and influence of rap music on American culture. And again, the teachers are already talking about how they can make this even better this year. So I thought I'd like to share a little bit of a teaser with you, if you'll indulge me, of one of these projects. The one we're going to look at tonight, we're not going to see the whole thing. We'll see about 3 minutes and 30 seconds of it. This documentary was created by Grace Brindle and Samantha Della Fera. They're 12th graders this year at Westfield High School. And their documentary is entitled The United States of Conspiracy.
In 1964, Richard Hofstadter printed his landmark thesis, The Paranoid Style in American Politics. This paper, written during one of the most unstable times in American history, blamed one reoccurring phenomenon for America's suspicious nature: conspiracy theories. America is full of conspiracy theories. They're in our popular culture.
A magic bullet enters the president's back, headed downward at an angle of 17 degrees.
The spit then proceeds to ricochet off the temple, striking Newman between the third and the fourth rib.
In our news,
People have birth certificates. He doesn't have a birth certificate.
I believe vaccinations triggered Evan's autism.
they're even in our national documents. But what are they, really? A conspiracy theory is the belief that a prominent group is acting in secret to alter institutions, seize power, hide truth, or gain utility at the expense of the common good. In the world of conspiracy theorists, there's only good, the innocent people, and evil, the conspirators. So who are conspiracy theorists? The media often portrays them as crazy middle-aged white men who live in their parents' basement. And yes, while this is in some cases true, women are just as likely to believe in conspiracy theories as men, and theorists are ethnically diverse as well. In fact, studies have shown that minorities such as African Americans and Hispanics are in fact more likely to believe in conspiracy theories. Reality shows that probably all of us have been conspiracy theorists at one point or another. In fact, 63% of Americans believe in at least one political conspiracy theory.
Even though we all are susceptible to conspiracy theories, some people are more likely to believe in them than others. Conspiracy theories tend to be common among the oppressed or people who feel powerless in society. Believers tend to be more hostile, cynical, defiant of authority, anxious, and more paranoid overall. The black and white mentality of conspiracy theorists makes it so that when they are confronted with information that can't be easily explained or categorized, they turn to conspiracy theories for answers. In a complex and confusing world, conspiracy theories offer control and simplicity to those who crave it.
For most people, that is an aversive, unpleasant psychological state to be in. And so conspiracy theories may offer a kind of explanatory tool. So if the truth is out there, then maybe it helps to explain what I'm kind of going through in here.
While it sometimes seems that we are living in the age of conspiracy theories, the truth is that conspiracy theories have remained at a steady rate over time, with only a few short-lived spikes. Conspiracy theories have always existed in America. The list of grievances in the Declaration of Independence contains mass exaggerations, accusing Britain of exploiting the common good of Americans for their own benefit. While the number of conspiracy theories has remained stagnant since 1776, the main change is in the target of these theories. In the 1890s, Americans were most concerned about Britain and France trying to steal valuable territory, or Mormons rigging elections. In the early 1900s, this concern shifted to financial institutions and then to communists during the 50s. But eventually, it was their own government to which Americans turned their suspicions.
The 1960s and early 70s were some of the most tumultuous.
So that just gives you a little flavor. If you'd like to see the whole documentary, we do have 3 of the projects linked to the district website under the Social Studies Department. So I invite you to check those out and view those for your own pleasure. So that really concludes my overview. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dana.
Mark Friedman.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Chris Linghart.
Yes.
Jenny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olden.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Charles Ostroff.
Yes.
Amy Reed.
Yes.
Finance, Mark.
I'd like the board to consider finance items 1 through 16. Do I have a second? Ginny, thank you. Comments, questions?
You want to call out 14,
Yep.
15,
Yep,
16?
yep. I'm there, Ginny.
Yep.
Been there. We have a couple of gifts we'd like to thank folks for. We'd like to accept a gift of $500 from the Westfield Coalition for clinician fees for Maureen Francis to provide master classes for the Westfield High School Concert Choir and Chorale throughout the 2016-2017 school year. Thank you for that. We'd also like to accept a gift of $800 from the Westfield Coalition for a band room upgrade at Edison Intermediate School. Thank you. And then also accepting a gift of $1,189 from the Franklin School PTO to purchase Lightspeed sound systems for several classrooms. So thank you for that. If no other comments, Dana, please.
Mark Friedman.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Chris Linghart.
Yes.
Jenny Lights.
Yes.
Gretchen Olden.
Yes.
Peggy Oster.
Yes.
Charles Ostroff.
Yes.
Amy Reed.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you, Mark. Legislation, I don't have a report. Does anyone have a report from Brendan?
We were supposed to have a meeting, was it last week, I think, and it was canceled, so I think no report.
Okay, thank you. Technology.
No report. Our next meeting is October 28th. We'll have a report at the November 1st.
Fantastic, thank you. I'd ask the board to note the notes for the record. Do we have any unfinished business that we need to talk about tonight? Any new business? Liaison reports. Charles.
Library, Memorial Library. Just I wanted to point out the fact that at the Union County Board of Libraries, the Westfield Libraries Friends Group was named Friends of the Year. So they received an award at their dinner, which was the end of last month. Also that the library has come into the modern age And there is an app now for the Westfield Memorial Library, and you can download it to your phones.
Nice. That's great, thanks. Amy, did you raise your hand?
I did raise my hand. I had just a couple things to report, actually. I was at a Roosevelt PTSO meeting, officer meeting, and Mr. Carey was there as well. They are looking forward to auditorium upgrades when they are scheduled to happen, and we're talking about some people coming in to check acoustics, so I know they're excited about that. I was also able to sort of dip a toe into an assembly that they had on Friday with it was called Champion of Choices, and a gentleman came in and sort of recounted in a very engaging fashion some of the not so great choices he made with his life, and it was sort of dovetailing in with the theme of fostering resilience among the kids. And Mr. Carey emphasized in the meeting with the officers how much they appreciated when Dr. Zambrano came in and talked to all the staff before school started. He felt that was really really effective and worthwhile. Said perhaps parents might be able to take advantage of that as well. So we had some discussion about the fact that I think the special ed committee had a link to that on their website.
That's correct.
And his presentation at last year's Special Ed Expo in March, which is really great and worth checking out. He's a really great speaker too. Which dovetails with my special ed parents committee meeting that I went to. And Dr. Weissman and many members of staff were there. I can't wait to get my hands on a new, this year's directory of staff to kind of recap all the people that were in the room, because there were a lot of educators there and a lot of parents there as well, and that was really good and helpful, I think, for people to see each other and talk about, what may be happening over the year. And Lisa Wendell has had some discussions with some people on the committee as well, talking about how that committee's emphasis may change a little bit over the coming years. They've had sort of steady leadership for a long time, and some of the parents that have been running that committee are starting to hit the end of their tenure within the district and are looking to change things up a little bit. And it brought up an interesting conversation about how, when they got started with their kids in school, resource availability was a little bit different, and now there's so much out there on the internet and so much available through the district as well, that maybe the emphasis will change a little bit. So they may go to less frequent in-person meetings. They do still intend to do the Special Ed Expo in March, but it may be scaled back compared to what it has been previously. They've done it before when there've been 15 or 20 sections available.
That's right.
And I think it'll be a little less than that this year. But it is on the schedule for March 15th, so mark your calendars now. And I'm very much looking forward to getting to go to a full parent-teacher council meeting this week. Unfortunately, the SIP committee, the curriculum committee, kind of has dovetailed a little too neatly with PTC, but this month I get to go to both, so that'll be great.
The Wilson School PTO met a couple weeks back. It was a really good meeting. You had a really good turnout. I guess one of the tricks of the trade this year that they employed was pulling the lottery for class parent at the meeting itself. So I think that upped the attendance quite a bit by folks paying attendance there. And they were very appreciative of a lot of the changes and some of the upgrades that were done. So they were all very happy with, especially some of the Wi-Fi and some of the other improvements, and very happy with the clocks and some of the new changes there as well. And Principal Malanga was very good, although I asked the next time that I go before him because he stole all of my points. He's very thorough. That is all.
Chris, Jenny, you have some?
I do. I attended Union County Ed Services Commission meeting, October Board of Directors meeting, and one thing of interest, I don't know if you're aware, Dr. Dolan, you probably are. New Jersey School Boards Association provides a service using active military personnel for schools, including HIB training, free. Apparently, Union County Ed Services had used them for different interactions. I thought it was an interesting concept. If our need were to arise, or just kind of
We'll look into it. Sure.
check in to see what's going on. Also attended the Union County School Boards Association Communication Tips for School Districts in Good Times and Bad. Brendan was also there, and we received a number of handouts, and I will make these available to the board. I think they're worth taking a look at. I also attended the high school PTSO meeting at the end of September. They have a student representative from the SGA now attending, Alex Jackman. And so there's interaction with feedback from the student population. Dr. Nelson was there, and there are a number of topics that were under discussion and kind of on the plate as far as what's happening with how we're going to approach this. A lot of research being done now through the administration of the high school to try to come up with some precedent or understandings about which appropriate directions to go into. So they're really not well formed yet to try to give you specifics, but there's a lot of good energy at the high school.
Thank you.
And I was also told to make sure I tell you the kids and parents are happy with Dr. Nelson in his principalship.
Excellent. Anybody else? I would recognize the public for comments and questions. Seeing no one come to the podium, I'd ask the board to approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing legal matters and harassment, intimidation, and bullying incidents. Resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential, and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second, please? Ginny, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are in private. Thank you.
So very